Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Boys and Girls. Wait. My name is Dacosity Live, and today we're going to be shooting some rapid-fire tips at you for this wonderful game. Stuff that I wish that I knew when I started out playing. Tip number 0, because I forgot to add this, despite it probably being the most useful tip you will find on this list. Anyway, here it is. You see this door, this, thing where you're supposed to play a musical instrument to get into. You see how on the door, there's kind of like musical notes. Like if you've ever done music in high school or, middle school or whatever, you notice that kind of looks like a music sheet, right? So I found the code. Here it is. Just follow the guide here. It's not hard. The empty spaces are the ones with the kind of the line in it, and they're like floating, and obviously the circles that are on the lines are the ones there, and they correspond with the keys you have to press. It is very easy. You're welcome. Just just keep this window open. Go open all the doors that you probably have and couldn't figure out for yourself. If you're musically challenged like myself, obviously people who are not autistic like me could figure this out probably in 2 seconds. Anyway, on to the rest of the video. Tip number 1, set up your base of operations early. I made the unfortunate mistake to basically go around and mine for, I think, 2 hours before actually setting up a location to build. And that made it very difficult for me to kind of manage myself, because my inventory was very full. Your inventory is not this big in the beginning of the game. It's much smaller. And I just didn't have much to work with. I had a lot of resources, but not a lot of space. It was very cramped. Just save yourself the trouble and confusion and just kind of plan it out, right? You want a location that's big enough to have all of your crafting stations. Generally, you want to place it right next to this area, right? You can even build around these because these give you important items. Once you defeat bosses, you put their stones in here. This one gives you a recall idol, which is just you're able to teleport back to the core, which is amazing. It has your teleporter here. It has a bunch of boss stuff, scanners, and really good items. So you want to be located around here. You want an area where you can do all your crafting, do your smelting nearby the crafting, so you don't have to walk very far to do and put stuff, and it makes it nice and neat. Set up a location to where you can have your farming animals. Make sure to make a bigger farm than me. Mine's a little bit more chaotic too. I have a bunch of beach ground here, some rocks here for Karoks, probably a little too many for Karoks. I've never had above 9. I don't know why I hoed the entire ground. You could set up a wood farm too. Wood's pretty important early game, especially if you want to use it to build. How do you set up a wood farm, you ask? Well, I don't even have one technically, but I'll show you right now, which is, I guess, tip number 2. So if you see here, when you collect, say, wood or defeat enemies, you get this cool thing called root seed. And you plant it like any other normal plant, right? You hoe the ground, you water it, and you put the seed there. Or you can put the seed there and water it, doesn't matter. But the difference with root seeds and other plants is that it never goes away, and it will just constantly grow wood all the time, no matter what. So what you can do with this is, using the automation table, you can create a crew drill or a normal drill. I would advise the crew. Obviously, getting a normal drill is really hard because you need Scarlet Bar, which is past the first 3 bosses. That's 1 level above iron, sorry. Power the crew drill, and then, you just put it right here. And you can have a crew drill kind of right next to where that root seed is, and when the root seed spawns wood right next to it, it'll mine it. Right now, obviously, it's mining this node, this copper node. It's been doing this for hours. Generally, you want to replace all these with an actual drill. They are much better than the crude ones. But as a starter farm, this is perfectly fine. I don't even have one yet. I'm going to make one in the future, though, because I plan on making pretty cool builds with wood. I only have 400 right now, which is a lot, but I'm gonna need a lot more if I want to make the stuff I want to make, right? Tip number 3, keep your animals away from your farm. And I guess bonus tip for that, use this. You can pick this fungal soil off the ground. It's all over the place, especially in the starting area. It's right here. You see it on the ground. Place these in your farm. They will spawn mushrooms, and your pets will eat them without you even having to put stuff in the feeder box. And when they eat, they're happy, and they'll produce food and resources that you will use and need for certain recipes. Plus, milk gives you a 23% armor bonus, very poggers. But the reason why I say don't separate them from your plants is that they will, in fact, eat your plants. So you will not have crops, just a ton of milk and pink puff and whatever the hell the larval thing drops. It's like some weird poly plate. Yeah, stroly-poly. They're called stroly-polies. Very funny. Tip number 3 is when you get these little idols or whatever from bosses, place them in a nice room with a bed. Pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of like how Terraria's housing works with NPCs. It'll spawn a little NPC boy. He won't have all of these when you start out. Like, their inventories expand as you progress through the game, but they will have very cool and interesting items, very useful stuff. This egg is fantastic. It's a shame that the bird that I had was just so good because I high rolled on the randomized stats. By the way, make an egg incubator as soon as you possibly can and start hatching eggs because pets can be very powerful. Also, get to the king slime as fast as you humanly can. It's a lot harder than the base slime. I guess this is tip number 5. I don't know what I'm on. But look at these insane stats you can get, like these skill points. By the way, to access this, put your pet in the, obviously in the slot, and then just press this little arrow here. 30% melee attack speed, 30% crit hit, 15% damage against bosses, 10% crit, 30% movement speed, 15% damage against bosses, deal up to 30% more damage based on health of targets remaining health, sorry. Zoomies, another 30% movement speed. Imagine if I got both of these, I would have an extra 60% movement speed from just one item. I would be zooming around the place. And then 10% crit. Mind you, these are randomized, so I might be missing out on a few skills that come with this particular pet, but it's insane. This will carry you through a lot of the game. I sadly only got this as like the fifth boss that I versed. Granted, that's probably when you're going to fight it. It was a lot harder than the normal slide. It had a lot more health. The slimes that it summoned were a lot harder. I'm sure you'll see that. I might get the B-roll for that in there. But it's totally worth it because this item, this pet, should I say, is really good. I mean, I'm getting an extra 30% damage against bosses. Oh, 60. Sorry. My bad. That's right. I forgot. It naturally gives you a 30% bonus versus bosses, and then I can get another 30% from its stats. So I'm basically critting every single time I hit the boss before critting, before other damage multipliers. It's insane. How do you get a king slime? Well, I myself, I'm not sure how exactly you can find it. And naturally anyway, I found it going around. Oh my god, sorry. Hold on, let me kill this thing. So over here on the map, down here, I found it around this location, right? In the Yorm tunnels. I'm pretty sure it's just a boss drop, not a boss drop, an enemy drop. You find a crown, and what you do is, if you go to the slime idol, or slime tile, sorry, where you fought the first boss, Glurch, the giant orange slime, you place the crown on its tile, and then you are able to fight it. It's pretty easy to understand. I'm sure I'll put B-roll of that too. Even if you die to the king slime too, it'll be there. In fact, it was so close to my spawn, it was still kind of not low on HP, but it was recovering from it. It wasn't at full HP when I got to it, but it was also immediately aggroed on me, and there were still minions there, so I guess the trade-off was fine there. Tip number 6, 7, I don't know. Don't be afraid to explore. There is a ton of secrets throughout this entire game. I have only scratched the surface, and look at how big this map is. It's crazy. I found teleporters, random buildings with cool items in them. Over here in the jungle, I found this crazy moldy dungeon that I haven't even beaten yet because it was incredibly difficult for me to navigate because you're slowed constantly. There's this location over here. I found 3 egg incubators in a building with eggs, and now they're mine. Now they're my eggs. So yeah, exploration is the name of the game here. There are tons of secrets. You could just randomly stumble upon a level 10 chest plate or something during your playthrough in the early game. It is really, important to actually get out of your house and run around and explore. But make sure you're also prepared because you will probably take a lot of damage, need to heal, need to eat. There is a hunger bar. Also, side note, early game tip, I guess. I know that we're all over the place. For the farm, I would focus on, if you're a mage, these two, the blue flower and the heart plant. If you're melee, I would do the heart plant and the bomb berry. And if you're a ranged, like an archer, I would do, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. I don't think there's a good early game plant combination for archers in this game. Granted, like the blue plant and this really aren't that great. This just gives mana regen. It's not like it gives magic damage. What you could do is have a bunch of these fungal soils and also the heart plant, and it'll make jelly that just gives you a ton of health regen, which are really good for just kind of tanking bosses and enemies alike. And it gives you a decent amount of food. I wouldn't eat the bomb berries by itself because they give you negative health, but if these are cooked very well, a lot of the food that comes from this are pretty useful. Also, don't just ignore fishing. It's really good. Some of the fish you can get and then combine them with food will give you insane stat buffs for like 10 minutes. Definitely do not ignore fishing in this game. You can also just randomly find ore and items as well. It's just like Terraria in that aspect. And to be honest, that's about it. This game's pretty run-of-the-mill. Excuse me, cut that. This game's not exactly very hard to understand. If you need any help, let me know in the comments. I will probably be able to help you. I'm pretty sure I've missed a lot of stuff that I kind of just sat down and winged this. I didn't write anything down. I just kind of thought about things that would be useful. And yeah, I'm Dakosity Live. Go check out my gameplay vids for this. They're a lot better than this, I'm telling you right now. And I'll see you tomorrow. Love you. Bye-bye.